More than 3 million years ago, before the word fire and memory, the first woman on Earth was born. She didn't wear clothes. She didn't know fire. She didn't know what a name was or why it existed. But she left footprints that survived over time, bones that challenged forgetfulness. And with that, the history of our species has changed forever. Today, scientists call her Lucy. She was born in a still wild Africa, a planet without cities, without walls, without human noise, only dry woods, shallow rivers, twisted trees, and an immense sky over the heat, and predators everywhere. There, among leopards with long fangs, giant crocodiles hidden underwater, hungry rapine birds, and death trails through the savannah. Lucy walked, literally. Her body, discovered in Ethiopia in 1974, revealed something extraordinary. She walked erect, on 2 legs. That alone put her in a unique place in the tree of life. She was Australopithecus afarensis, an ancient hominid, neither monkey nor human. But the link between the two, and more than anything, was female. With wide hips, legs adapted to the ground, and arms strong enough to climb trees, Lucy represents the type of body that gave birth to ours. A body that gestated, gave birth, took care of. An ancestrally feminine body. But the Earth did not forgive mistakes. Hominid skulls found in the same region show crocodile teeth, fractures, perforations caused by eagle claws. Predators even sprang from the sky. To stay alive was a feat. To remain with the group, a necessity. Lucy probably lived in small groups, like other primates. The younger ones learned by observing the older ones. Perhaps she spent her childhood climbing branches, following adults, running among the dry grass to escape the danger. Her shoulders still resembled those of young gorillas, which indicates that, although she walked on 2 legs, she still depended on the trees to sleep or escape. And despite the fragility, Lucy survived. She lived long enough to leave signs, not only on the bones, but also on the ground. In Tanzania, fossilized footprints were found more than 3 million years old. The steps of a bipedal creature like her. We've been here. Today we know that Lucy was part of a complex mosaic of species. She was not alone in ancestral Africa. Various types of hominids coexisted, each with different adaptations and ways of living. But none left so many traces. None is so well documented. None gained so many looks. So even without a name, even without being the first in the literal sense, she became the oldest face we can call, in some sense, a woman. To survive in that brutal world, Lucy needed more than luck. She needed strategy, and it all starts with food. Studies in fossilized teeth of dozens of individuals of the Australopithecus afarensis species reveal that their diet was based mainly on typical dry savanna plants, Gramen's reeds, resistant leaves, fruits, and perhaps some succulents. But what really made a difference was not what was visible, but what was buried. Most animals ignored these resources because they were difficult to access. But Lucy, with her hands free and her brain a little more developed, could dig, experiment, and insist. This gave her an advantage. And more than that, it indicates that she was crossing an important frontier, that of the intelligent selection of food. It is possible that, unlike gorillas or chimpanzees, Lucy began to recognize patterns, where the soil was cuter, where a plant left traces of tasty roots, where water favored the growth of certain vegetables. And meat, for a long time, it was believed that our ancestors only began to consume animal protein millions of years later. But recent discoveries have changed this view, which raises a powerful hypothesis. Lucy and her peers did not just eat meat, as they may have used rudimentary tools to get it. Chipped stones, sharpened by impact, would be used to cut remains left by large predators. Lucy was not fast nor strong. She did not hunt alone, but could follow the smell of death. Wait for a lion to finish his meal, scare a group of vultures with screams or sticks, and then, with small hands and a stone in the palm, break bones to extract what was left of energy. This behavior is the embryo of what would later transform humanity. The deliberate use of tools. For decades, it was thought that the oldest tools belonged to the Homo genus, more specifically, the Homo habilis, with about 2.5 million years. But in 2015, a discovery in Lamak v. Kenya changed everything. Intentionally modified stone instruments with about 3.3 million years, contemporary to Lucy's time. These tools did not arise by chance. Someone chose the stones, hit them with precision, sharpened the edges. This requires coordination, planning, and above all, intention. And if an ancestral like Lucy did this, then her mind was already taking invisible steps towards what we call today human thinking. But it is not only the utility that draws attention, there is something even more mysterious. In a cave in South Africa called Makapanskat, a curious stone was found, small, reddish, with shapes that resemble a face. 2 circular eyes, a mouth marked by a sulcus. The rock was dated in almost 3 million years and was in a layer where remains of Australopithecus were also found. The most intriguing part, it does not belong to that geological region. It came from at least 30 kilometers away. And there are no signs of transport by water, wind, or animals. The only plausible explanation, someone carried it there. Maybe because he saw something, a face, a familiar shape, a threat, a symbol. It is impossible to know. But if Lucy, or someone like her, stopped, took this stone, and decided to take it, the beginning of everything that would come next. Art, religion, imagination. Scientifically, we call this pareidolia, the tendency to recognize faces in random patterns. Many animals have this ability. But the gesture of keeping, protecting, or moving something symbolic is a step beyond. It is the limiter of abstract thought. Of course, Lucy did not know what she was doing. There was no language nor consciousness in the modern sense. Her brain was small, similar to that of a current chimpanzee, but maybe it was organized in a different way. Maybe the internal connections were changing subtly in silence. And this is not seen in the bone, but is felt in the consequence. Because each modified stone, each bone broken with intention, each object displaced by impulse, is a trace that something new was being born in the mind of the hominids, something that took them away from pure instinct, something that, at the right time, would give rise to the human being. Lucy was one of these pioneers, and that's why, even surrounded by teeth and death, she found time to look, touch, choose, act, maybe without understanding, but starting, stone by stone, the path of intelligence. Before we understand how Lucy gave birth, and also how she died, take the opportunity to subscribe here on the channel, and leave a like on this video. If you made it this far, it's because this content has caught you in some way. So, comment down here. Did you already know Lucy's story? Her interaction helps this project a lot to continue bringing to light stories that time has almost erased. Lucy survived the heat, hunger, and predators. But, like all life, hers also had an end. Before that, however, she probably experienced one of the most complex moments in evolutionary history, giving birth over millions of years. As our ancestors began to walk on 2 legs, the anatomy of the pelvis changed. It became narrower to support the erect body. At the same time, the brain of the offspring began to grow. This combination created a dilemma: harder births, more dangerous, more limited in the size of the baby. Lucy belongs to an intermediate stage of this transition. Her pelvis was still wide enough, but it already had adaptations to bipedalism. The birth for her was not simple. Studies indicate that perhaps the offspring already needed to spin within the birth canal, as happens with modern humans. And that changes everything. While chimpanzees usually give birth alone, hidden in the forest, Lucy may have needed help. Someone to support her, clean the baby, help protect him in the first days. If this really happened, then the assisted birth is not a cultural invention. It is a primitive heritage, and possibly this mutual help may have been the embryo of something bigger, not to hunt, but to be born. About the role of the male, science is still debating. Some fossils suggest that the males of the Australopithecus afarensis species were significantly larger than the females, something common in species where a single male dominates several partners and rarely participates in the creation. Other researchers argue that sexual dimorphism was not so accentuated, and that there could be some paternal involvement, especially if the cubs took longer to grow. There are clues that Lucy and her species had a longer childhood than the current great primates. This would require more care, more time, more education, and someone needed to be there. But these questions still have no definitive answer. The fossils are fragmented, scarce, and separated by hundreds of thousands of years. What we know is that Lucy died, and died young. Her skeleton shows fractures that some specialists associate with a fall of great height, perhaps from a tree. Others say that the damage may have been caused after death by animals or natural processes. The truth is that her body was preserved by chance, covered by volcanic sediments, protected from time and from oblivion. We do not know if anyone saw her fall, if anyone cried, if her group felt her absence. But we know that primates, like chimpanzees, lament the loss of cubs, carry their bodies for days, demonstrate silence, retraction, attachment. If Lucy and hers shared deep bonds, and everything indicates that, yes, perhaps her death left a real void, and, ironically, also left something bigger. A lasting presence. More than 3 million years later, Lucy remains among us, not as a myth, but as evidence, not as a legend, but as a body between beasts and bonfires, between instinct and consciousness, between the past that was lost and the future that she started. If this story made you look at the past with other eyes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who is also interested in the origin of our species. Here, each fossil, each footprint, and each vestige is a reminder that before we are civilization,